One of my favorite things to do is crawl in the basement here. What we're going to do is redo all of that wiring in there. We got a lot on those blocks and they're a mess. The refrigerator, the diesel heater, those things have started getting wired directly to the batteries, but I have no way to get to the fuses unless I crawl all the way under there or take it all apart. So what I'm trying to do now is put a central location for the fuses so that way I can get to them fairly easily. First though, I'm going to put the Lynx boxes together and then I'm going to crawl underneath there and sort out wires.
Well, I needed to stop this video for a moment and explain a little bit of how we got to this position, and that requires just a little bit of history. When we purchased this camper, there was one single stud for power wires, and that was okay for what was in there. When we started adding our system in 2021, where we had a Victron inverter and our 4 Battleborn batteries and other things, we decided that a single stud wasn't going to be sufficient, and we ended up getting a bus bar that helped expand our opportunities. But since then, we have added quite a few other functions. We added our 12-volt refrigerator, we added our diesel heater, and a bunch of other little stuff like TPMS extender and our gray tank heater option. So all these little things kept on basically stressing out our bus bar again.
We got way too many wires in my opinion on here. Everything's labeled, but we got way too many wires.
So what we were looking for is an option to either like double that or try to come up with something else. In addition, Gary was kind of getting frustrated because it was very difficult to route this and make it user-friendly as well as make it pretty. After searching the YouTubes for a little bit, we found a Victron Lynx distributor, which seemed to be very much what we wanted. We wanted to have a block that maybe had some large amperage fuses that could distribute all of these smaller loads to maybe sub-panels. This thing is kind of big though, and for a lot of electrical systems it might be overkill, but Gary treats our electrical system as his baby, so adding a little bit of money in here to make him happier was definitely the right thing to do. Though we ended up doing a slight twist. So Victron has 2 products, a Lynx distributor and a Lynx power in. The main difference is the Lynx distributor includes all of the hardware needed to put in your fuses and has an electronics panel that has LEDs when a fuse is blown. That seemed a little unnecessary for us, so what we found on the interwebs, on the YouTubes, was a way to change the Lynx power in to something that could handle fuses, just nuts, bolts, washers kind of thing. So we decided to go that route since it was just a little bit cheaper. But because of all the stuff that we have in our camper, we actually needed 2 of these things. So yeah, and Gary's going to show you how he did all this.
All right, I'm going to set one of these up. Need a Phillips screwdriver. On one box, you'll need 4 M8 bolts, 125 thread by 30 millimeters long, 8 M8 nuts, 8 M8 washers, 4 M8 lock washers. Take the Phillips screwdriver, the case screws loose. So you got your positive bus bar here, and what we're going to make it set up so we have a fuse link in there. So there's 2 more screws here. Holds this plastic doojobby down. Take those out. Made a mistake. It's more than 2. There's 4 here. This holds this whole thing down here. It's staring me right in the face. Now that I got all of the screws out, then we're going to take these. So next step, take 4 of these washers. And we're going to put this back on. And you just use the 4 screws that you just took out. And all we're doing is making fuse holders so we can jump across here and we we'll have fuses on our terminals. So then what we're going to do then, put 4 washers. We're going to put 1 nut on each one of these here. So I'm just finger tightening. And this is plastic, so you don't want to over tighten them. And it's a do-it-yourself hack, so just don't overdo this plastic. So you just want to make sure they're snug. So now theoretically I'm ready to put the fuses in here. And you just take this nut loose and then lay the fuse in there and then put it back together. But since I'm not going to do that quite yet, I'm just getting myself set up with this. All I'm going to do is put this back down. So you put a washer down, lock washer, and then put the nut on. That's all I'm going to do for this right now. I'm just trying to get it set up for when I put it in the coach. So I'll get the other one done. We'll take you inside the coach. So right now I'm trying to get this a little bit more organized. So I previously put most of this up with removable tie straps, but there's old wires in here. If we kind of get all of this cleaned up and then put some regular fuse blocks so I can get rid of things like this and this, I think we'll be in better shape. So I'm going to start tearing this apart and then we'll show it to you here in a little bit. Alright, so far in my cleanup process, I've rewired all of my MPPTs. I had really large wire in these 2 big MPPTs because of the amount of distance I'd had to travel across the coach. But since now all I'm doing is coming to right here, less than a foot, I was able to run 10 gauge. On these fuse blocks I'm running neutrals and I'm running positives, so that way I can kind of run them all together. Yeah, I'll label it, and I'm still not finished yet. I got a few other things to add to it, but I just want to show you where I was at. Well, here we are, another day here. Got everything stripped out, got all the wires stripped out, got everything labeled, figured out where everything was going except for about 3 wires, which is a pain because I haven't figured out what's under there that's not connected, that ain't working in the coach. So we're going to leave those for right now. 3 wires out of all that mess isn't bad. So anyway, here I thought to show you the difference. That's the old setup up top here, and then the new setup. So the new setup has the positives with fuses there, and then the bottom one is for the negatives. So you put your negatives there, and then this lays down. Okay, supposed to lay down, and then you lay your positives across there. So yeah, stage 1 of the electrical project. Got all of the wiring stuff done. So here, I'll take you along and show you what it looks like. It's not perfect yet, but it's a lot better than it was. Alright, so here I am laying underneath here. So the first step I've done is I've taken a lot of the butt splices out of my switches for all my different things. I got tire pressure management system. Since my truck is so long, it has an extra module to help boost the signal from the trailer. I got a gray tank heater, keeps us from freezing on the nozzle when we're trying to dump. Fans for in here to keep the Victron and the batteries cool. And then the battery heat, so in the winter when we need it, the batteries can be heated. I just wired in a switch for it. I'm using Wago connectors, so that way they're easier to diagnose, and for me they stay on pretty tight. I've only used the Wago ones, the other ones don't seem to work as well. Yeah, that box seems to keep everything pretty well cleaned and organized. All my switches are by the door here, and then we put this fuse block in. These blocks can take 100 amps, cleans up a lot of my wires. So now I've only got like 3 wires running down here, and then I just run the positive and negative 2 gauge cable all the way down to the distribution panel. So that's where I'm going to head down to next on this lovely tray. A little noisy. So everything will be in these distribution panels by Victron. So as you can see, we kind of cleaned up everything. I pulled out couple major wires. There's a couple battery wires that are running in here for the old battery setup from host. So we're not gonna, I didn't want to keep piling on top of my stuff. So we changed the posts a while ago to those bus bars. The bus bars were too full in my opinion, so we're dividing it out, putting them on fuse panels, and then using these distribution boxes here. So I'll show you what it looks like inside. So these panels are super easy to get out. Just need a Phillips screwdriver and then take these off. Rather than my circuit breakers, I got the fuses in here, so I got 100 amp, but it definitely cleans up everything. Cables all coming in, the main fuse panel, you can actually see where it is now. The other one was so buried you couldn't even see it. I separated all the wires for the slides and the Rico Titan jacks, so they're all in one post. And then the fuse blocks, the generator's running in. I'm protecting it, even though it's got a circuit breaker built in, I'm protecting it as well. And then all the miscellaneous grounds that are going up to the fuse panel and around the coach, we've got those. So I've kind of gotten all the wires kind of organized. All the grounds are with the appropriate things. Negatives are all with the positives, so it kind of makes sense, kind of cleans it up. And we'll put these covers back on and I'll show you the rest. Again, everything's labeled. All my folders coming in. Looks really nice and neat. I've got all my Victron stuff coming into one station now rather than all over the place. And I'll be honest, I eliminated all the glass fuses because, well, I'm not very fond of those because they can loosen up and then you lose connection and then you got all sorts of trouble. Servo doesn't like that when it doesn't have the power it needs. Rewired all of this stuff, so we eliminated a lot of wire in here. I'm still not done because there's still a bunch in this back harness that's way behind my batteries. So yeah, my batteries are sitting on the platform now. We're looking, this is going to be stage 2. We're looking to maybe replace these battle boards and put them down, cut our tray a little bit and put them down here on the floor in front of the water tank. So we'll have to see how that goes. All of the stuff that I took out of the harnesses and stuff like that, so it's some of the host wiring, some of the old wiring that I had in there. Yeah, is it a waste of money? Probably. But you know what, I just got tired of looking at it and it needed to be cleaned up. Probably should have just did this right from the get-go, but you know, it is what it is. But here's all of the stuff that I got. So all my circuit breakers, old wire, hornet's nest of stuff over there. A lot of that's from all that wiring in the corner for my switches. Some of it's reusable, some of it we'll just have to recycle. So this wraps up the electrical project that we finished inside here. So if you like what you see, just give us a thumbs up or comment on what I did. Also, check us out next week. Laura will be doing some things in the camper that, yeah, are a little sketchy. So, all right, see you next week.